And hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pumpkin Coptercast, the only video game show. And today, before the holidays come and kill us all, we're getting the Game of the Year episode out a bit early. I'm with returning guest Gremz,
Hello.
who last who was previously on the show with me and everyone's favorite transmass duck Kyle talking about Halloween stuff. And for the first time, a friend of many years, professional cosplay person, also a video game internet person, we have Kruxy.
Hello. How generous of you to call me professional.
Y'all know how to do what you do more than this. Like your productions are considerably more look like they have a budget than mine. So yeah, so Crixie, how about you before we get the ball rolling? How about you and give us a introduction of you?
Okay, so I am Kruxy once again. I guess I would call myself a jack of all trades artist. So yeah, I do digital art, I do cosplay. I recently been getting into VTubing as well. Just kind of expanding my repertoire here and there. And yeah, I have a lot of fun with it.
Okay. And before we actually get to talking about video games, it's time to introduce Cruxy to the game that everyone who ever comes on this show loves, and I know Gremz enjoyed it totally, no matter what she says otherwise. Cruxy, it is time for us to play a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Dark Souls.
Okay.
Now,
I remember this.
I'm intrigued.
now, what do Yu-Gi-Oh! And Dark Souls have in common? Well, both franchises have characters with names that sound like if you took a dictionary from like three different languages and just kind of bled them all together and then just picked some sort of demented amalgam name out of a hat.
Sounds appropriate.
Yep. So let's say I don't know an even four. Pick four, and you have to guess if it is either a Yu-Gi-Oh card or a Dark Souls boss.
Hmm. Okay.
Alright, let's see. Now let me just get. Alright, I'll start things off. So we'll start things off with Grumps, because I subjected her to this the last time she was here. So, Grumps, your first one is Tamias, the Knight of Destiny. Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Dark Souls?
I am gonna say Yu-Gi-Oh.
That is correct. Is a card from. It definitely is a card from Yu-Gi-Oh! And, back during a story arc that got, showed just how friggin' dark Yu-Gi-Oh! Can get, which you think, with considering it's a card game show, it couldn't get that dark, and you'd be wrong. Anyway, let's see. What's one that's the weird. Alright, Cruxy, Crystal Sage, Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Dark Souls?
I recall that being Yu-Gi-Oh.
Wrong. It is a boss from Dark Souls 3. Looks like he's wearing a big ass witch's hat. Alright, let's see. Next, Gremz. For you, we have Cosmo Dark Lady, Yu Gi Oh! Or Dark Souls.
Oh, I feel like this is a trick of some sort. I'm gonna say Yu-Gi-Oh.
You'd be correct. Is a Cosmo Dark Lady is indeed a Yu-Gi-Oh card from a series of cards, and this is not a joke, that blends the Wizard of Oz and Star Wars. Is this let me just I need to post this into the Discord chat because I need you two to see this so that you know that this is a real thing.
Lay it on us.
Let's see, base. I don't know. Imagine the Wicked Witch of the West, but with Darth Vader gear on. There's an entire series of cards that is either Star Wars, Wizard of Oz, or Wizard of Oz Star Wars. Alright, let's see. Let me just look at this pile of hundreds of Yu-Gi-Oh cards I have in front of my computer desk at any given time. Alright, let's see. Kruxy, next for you we have Dark Honest, Yu-Gi-Oh or Dark Souls?
Dark Honest?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Doesn't help that I left the Yu-Gi-Oh series for quite a while. Really get into Dark Souls. Dark Souls.
Wrong. It is a Yu-Gi-Oh card, and so I need you to confirm. I need you two to like either confirm or deny this with me because I'm looking. Because when I pulled this card and a booster pack, like if you looked at, like this is just really weird because like the tips of this thing's wings are like the exact colors of the bisexual pride flag, like exactly.
Oh shit.
Oh. Hey.
Yeah, it is. It totally is.
So, which, I mean, we could just replace all of the pride flags with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I think they'd be better. But I'll save that for our June episode. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Gremz for the last one. Let's see. No. Where's the... Some of these are just impossible to pronounce. Here's one. Our last one for today is Doom Virus Dragon, Yu-Gi-Oh or Dark Souls.
Doom Virus Dragon?
Yes, ma'am.
It could be either. I'm gonna say Yu-Gi-Oh.
You are correct. It is from Yu-Gi-Oh. A card from one of my favorite story arcs, but I will talk about that when I inevitably make a podcast recapping the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. And yeah, that has been Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Souls, Gremz' favorite game.
Oh yes, of all time.
Yes.
I did better than last time. Sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
at least you actually won this one.
Yep. So, oh, whoops. I'm professional, I swear. So, yeah, now we can move on to the meat and potatoes of this episode. Is at the time of this recording, it is December 1st, 2023. The year is almost over. Oh gosh. The horrid march of time marches ever forward. And yeah, it's been. I mean, the game industry as a business has been just a pile of beans, but a lot of games themselves have been quite good. And so, uh, um, let's see, eeny, meeny, miny, Kruxy. What's a game you've played recently that you would consider a game of the year?
Ah, that's a tough one. The game, I guess I would say my personal favorite game of the year, Mega Man Battle Network Legacy.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Totally forgot that came out this year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even though it's games made like 20 years ago, it's just a recollection of having it back to me after I previously bought all the games on my Wii U and then it corrupted. It was good to
Uh,
get them back.
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time of this recording, the Legacy Collection has sold over 1 million copies. So I mean, we might be getting a new Battle Network game. Who knows? And maybe if it sells well enough, the powers that be will get off their butts and release the Battle Network anime on DVDs because I had that shit hooked up to my veins when I was a small, giant-headed child with a huge red afro.
One can only hope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I've never actually. I remember playing. I think it was like either blue or white, and then like I don't know the red one, and I could never beat the final boss. And I tried playing through the first Battle Network game, but that game was just utterly infuriating, and I actually made the conscious decision to quit playing it because it was just that crap. But I've heard all the other games in the series are much less garbage in terms of design, so I'm excited.
Yeah, like definitely Battle Network 1 is pretty much the skeleton of the games. Like it's got its shoes into the mud and then like uh, later on as the game's like kind of refine itself, it's like okay, let's make this a little better here and there, and it's like I see where it's going.
Yep, and so Gremz, do you have what's a game? What's one of the first games you've played this year that you would consider a game of the year?
So I had thought about this. Uh, I almost said Cult of the Lamb, but that actually came out last year. So in absence of that, I would say Hi-Fi Rush was a very fun, uh, cool little rhythm action game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was released at the beginning of the year, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people forgot about it. But it's really fun.
I mean, yeah, I've heard quite a few things about it. A friend of mine was pestering me to play it when it first came out. And yeah, as for me, well, let's see. In the ancient forgotten year of 2021, I've dipped my toe in like the survival horror genre and played through Resident Evil 7 for the first time. And after that, I quickly, became a fan and in quick succession bought 8, the remakes of 2 and 3, and this year I played through the remake of Resident Evil 4 starring Leon Sex Kennedy. That's his middle name.
Canonically.
Yeah, and that was good. Like, it was like, I loved the Resident Evil remakes, and this is really good. I love how streamlined everything is. Like, you can actually walk around in this one, and it's not face-punchingly aggravating tank controls. They like revamped everything. They redesigned some of the characters. They made Ashley into a bit more of a character, and that was nice to see. Yeah, it was just great. Just I don't know, hoarding resources. I mean, I almost forgot that at pretty much the beginning of the game you get the shotgun right away, so you actually feel like more armed and powerful in comparison to Resident Evil 2 remake, where you have to go through a whole rigmarole to get the shotgun. And then there's like the increasingly absurd weapons. And I remember one of my favorite things was to have like the bolt gun, and then you can upgrade it to be able to attach exploding mines to it. And so then you can just like shoot an enemy, just like walk away, and then just casually detonate it with a press of like the right thumbstick, and that is hilarious.
Oh, that sounds good.
And like even though like Resident Evil 4 is like the most actiony of the Resident Evil games, there are still like two sections in the game that are just like utterly terrifying. One where you play as Ashley, who is not a trained combatant like Leon Sex Kennedy, and so you have to run away from all the scary things. And then another part where you encounter the regenerators, and like, oh gosh, those things are freaking terrifying. Yeah, so that is the first of my games of the year. Let's see. Just pointing at the screen here. Eeny, meeny, miny, Gremz. What's another game of the year that you have?
So I haven't played much of it, but from what I played so far, it's been really good. We Love Katamari Reroll and Royal Reverie.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that was out.
Yeah, they remade Katamari Damacy a little while ago, and I was like, well, why don't they put both? Because you can't really play We Love Katamari without playing Katamari Damacy. The second game relies so much on you knowing what happens in the first game. There's a little bit of a catch up, but it's like they assume you're already kind of a fan.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really good. They added some extras. The controls are still pretty tight and very colorful and kind of nice to just zen and roll some stuff around.
Yeah, sounds good. Kruxy, what is another game of the year that you have that's been on your mind?
Before I get to that, I know I also did play like Katamari Damacy Reroll. Like that was a fun one. I did struggle a little bit on the controls with that one. Maybe it was just because it was a Switch. I don't know, but hoping the other Katamari games have more refined controls to my liking.
If it helps, I play for context, I played on PC with an Xbox One controller. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
Okay. Maybe. Okay, so back to the topic. I'm gonna point towards. Okay, I have it listed in my notes. The best fan-made game of 2023 would be Hollow Cure.
Huh.
So for those who don't know, it's a fan-made game of the Hollow Live characters from the Cover Corporation branch that's been going on YouTube and such. So like this one dude made like a vampire survival game, and they included most of the Hololive characters, and it's incredibly solid game designed by one person.
Huh.
Yeah, it's also like jam packed with like memes and inside jokes from like what's been going on with like Hololive characters, and it's been really fun to play just now and then. Like I'm just kind of flabbergasted of just how high quality it is, and it's also free. So
Ooh.
literally just pick it up on the Steam and play it up, play it up.
All right, and let's see a game that was pretty much like guaranteed to be a game of the year. Like within the first few minutes I played it, like I like most other people was excited when we saw it on Nintendo, on the various Nintendo Directs it was on. That's like one of my games of the year and just like new favorite games was of course Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Like,
Neat.
Oh yeah, I was gonna mention that. Yeah, it's a
oh
great game.
goodness, is that just absolutely worth the wait? I mean,
Could I ask something
oh yeah.
about that game? So like, I've seen it. It looks good, but like, what makes it stand out more than like some of the other predecessor games that came out recently?
Let's see. I mean, there's the completely overhauled visual style to like immediately distinguish it from like the new Super Mario Bros. Games. See, there's a few new power-ups. It takes place in an entirely new kingdom. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give it away. But yeah, they've really just like taken like the core. It's like structurally kind of the same as like the new games, but they just introduced a whole lot of fresh stuff into it, like new enemies, new obstacles. Like the Wonder Flower segments are just top notch. I mean, it's just oh goodness, it's so good.
Yeah, it
And
was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, and I mean you can just like choose. Like a benefit I appreciated is like, unlike in some of the new Super Mario Bros. Games, you can like choose whatever character you want to play as, and like if you're player one, you're not like pigeonholed into like playing as Mario. Like one of my favorite Nintendo characters and like best girl Toadette was like playable from the start, and I played as her for the vast majority of it. That's hilarious. I mean, seeing everyone as like the elephants was just great. I think gonna be a new favorite power up for a while, and I mean, it doesn't have new in the title, but it has a lot of new stuff in it. I mean, like the visual style just really just does a great job at immediately distinguishing it from the new Super Mario Bros. Games, and yeah, I mean, it's also just been quite a landmark in different ways. That is because, for those of you not in the know, Charles Martinet, the original voice of Mario, has since retired from voice acting, and his successor is Kevin Afghani, who's done a phenomenal job. And like, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think there'd be a new Mario voice actor until like Charles Martinet died, so this was like quite a surprise, and like I think he steps into the role really well. And yeah, it's just, I mean, there's only so much I can say without like giving a huge chunk of it away, but yeah, it's just a whole. I mean, it's just an entire. Like as the title says, it's a complete wonder. It's just so good. Like, like I was so hooked on it that I like played through the entire game in like over the course of like 8 days. Like from the Saturday I bought it to like the following Sunday, I had played through like the main game, not the special world because I don't want to give myself a heart attack. But oh goodness, I haven't been hooked on a game like that for a long time.
Oh, that sounds a lot of fun. I'll have to pick it up when I can.
Yep, and I mean, like my games of the year aren't necessarily on a list, but one I would like put on the list, but much lower down on the list for various reasons was, we also got like Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and oh goodness, that was like I don't know, like I'm just imagining playing through, like if I could play through certain parts of that game on like an IMAX screen, because they've done like a real good job like conveying scale, like how big certain things are, and the reason I would put it lower on the list if I were like making like a conventional like internet person's list is because one, Nintendo raised the price of this game to like $70 fucking, which is absolutely ridiculous, and anyone who tries to justify that is just completely full of crap. It absolutely does not need to be $60, $70, and the fact that this is a trend in video gaming now is horrible, and I hope it fails horribly, but it probably won't, or if it does, not for a while. And I mean, it took a lot of stuff in from Breath of the Wild and improved it, but it also kept some of the sucky parts, like the weapon degradation system, which I don't understand why anyone thought that was a good idea. I mean, like, even the strongest weapons break after a very short amount of time. You once again have to go through like a whole rigmarole to get the Master Sword. And even though the Master Sword technically doesn't break, it can still just there. You use it too much too often, it can just make it so that you can't use it for, I think, 10 or 15 real life actual minutes, which is horrible. And as someone who spent a lot of time climbing in the game, the fact that there's like still friggin' rain in the game, and the fact that the rain completely destroys your ability to climb it in a game that has a good chunk of it involved climbing stuff, like the game was amazing, and I'm glad I now own it and can play it regularly again and again for the rest of my life. But hot diggity balls, that was just like those things just really ruined a good chunk of it early on for me.
I'm not updating my game because I've learned of a couple duplication glitches. So yeah, I'm kind of cheesing it. Or I've cheesed it, but
Yeah,
yeah, regardless, it is a fun game.
it is, and I love the fact that the boss fights play like boss fights in previous Zelda games, as opposed to in Breath of the Wild, where it was they took out pretty much like all like the puzzle elementy stuff of the boss fights and just made it so that you kind of just have to have like a strong ass weapon like an RPG in order to beat the boss. But yeah, Gremz, what would you say is another game of the year that was just like that got its hooks into your brain and never let go?
One game, getting into the indies a little bit. Cassette Beasts came out this year, and that was a lot of fun. For those who are unfamiliar, it's a game where it's like Pokemon that you capture. It's like kind of vintagey, where it's like you capture capture a copy of like monsters on a tape, and you transform into the monsters.
Huh.
And it's 2v2. Like it's always going to be you and a partner that you control versus. Well, I mean, a lot of the boss battles are twos. Sometimes it's just only against one mon. but you always have a partner with you.
Huh, that sounds cool.
And you get to develop the relationships between you and because there's like 4 or 5 different partners you can team up with.
Yeah. And there are some games that came out this year that I have yet to play, but I am looking forward to them. One of them, I mean, since Resident Evil and that type of gameplay is like tucks into my brain now. A game I'm looking forward to is My Friendly Neighborhood, which is basically like Resident Evil, but instead of zombies, it's Sesame Street ass looking puppets, which I feel like is more scary.
What is it called again?
My Friendly Neighborhood.
They don't want to kill you; they just want to give you a hug.
I mean, just like one of the the puppet that's used, I guess, in like the cover art looks a lot like Ernie from Sesame Street, which is horrifying. And yeah, I mean, I think it looks cool. I like the fact that you can actually, unlike other games like this where it's like kid centric thing, but they're trying to murder you. You can actually like fight back and solve Resident Evil style puzzles. And I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
I'm intrigued. I just pulled up a trailer just to see what's like.
Yep. Let's see. And yeah, and have there been any, I guess we'll go back in increments. Were there any games of 2022 that were your games of the year back then?
2022. Let me check in Google.
Well, while you're doing that, I mentioned this at the start. Cult of the Lamb. I played it this year. It came out last year. It got its hook into me pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a beat 'em up, but also like a base management thing, and they kind of complement each other pretty nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think, it's not a Souls necessarily, but it is kind of. I'm trying to think of what game it reminds me of. Either way, it's a lot of fun. They're still coming out with content for it, free updates and stuff like that. So that's one of the games from last year that I really liked.
Yep.
See.
I think Melatonin also came out last year. Let me just double check that.
I guess to fill it in, I got 2 games that kind of stand out to me for being my favorites for 2022.
Mm-hmm.
It's Pokemon Legends Arceus and Sonic Frontiers.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pokemon Legends, it just felt like a whole new refreshed version of Pokemon that I never knew I wanted to have, and my goodness,
good.
I want more of it.
Yeah, me too.
It's just a shame that there wasn't much else. There wasn't much else for it except for one big update, and then that was it. They moved on to Scarlet and Violet.
Nah, that's a shame because oh, they're so good. I mean, there's the free roaming camera from the word go. I mean, there really isn't that much to do in the game other than the main story, but just being able to freely walk around the map, seeing the Pokemon. I mean, the fact that there's not a lot of overworld music and it's mostly just you walking on the road and listening to the chirps of the various Pokemon. The music in like the central town, like oh my, like it really was just like an entirely different thing. And this like the Pokemon companies seem to just like leaning more into the fact that, Arceus is like the capital G Abrahamic, like from the Bible, God. Because like, your isekai, I think is the term, into the past,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
given, and God gives you a phone, which, why is Game Freak? I want an iPhone cover of the Arceus phone that is like, it would probably not fit into my pocket very good, but I still want it because it's like the sickest freaking thing ever. And I just like the, and I mean, there are technically, I think, like two side quest-ish things there. I mean, a feature like I appreciated that I kind of just stumbled on by accident is like, I guess one of like the big side quests is that you can find and capture the unknown, like all 28 of them, the ones that represent the alphabet and the exclamation point and the question mark.
Oh
And
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, there's like like they're not very good like competitively, but just in terms of design they're friggin' sick. And just a few short months ago on my other show, my friends Tom and Kyle and I recapped the third Pokemon movie, The Spell of the Unknown, which just, just conveys, like, because they're just so weird. It's just like, they're just basically a big lie. Like, and just like, you can travel across, like, all of the, like, maps of the world, and I like the fact that, like, as soon as you find it, if you can actually physically throw a Pokeball at it, because, they've changed that too, where you have to actually, like, aim and throw the Pokeball at the Pokemon to properly catch them, which I think was cool. But, like, they're just, like, hanging out. Like, you just see them, like, hanging on the walls or on the branches of trees, and, like, even if they see you, they don't do anything, which is just hilarious. And like, it took so long, but I managed to capture all of them. And a feature that actually makes them like, worth having if you play through, if you like in a playthrough of Legends Arceus, is they've actually, like, the one move that Unknown can actually can use, like hidden power, they've actually changed how that works. So like, dependent, like the move the move's type changes depending on, what Pokemon you are like currently fighting. So like, if you're fighting a fire Pokemon and you use hidden power, like, it could turn into like a water type move or a ground type move. So I played through like a decent chunk of the game, like with Unknown in my primary team, able to like fight like other trainers and like the boss Pokemon and all that, with Unknown actually being able to pull his weight, which is really fun. And I'd say, like, in the central hub town, like some of the Pokemon you catch, you can just see them like playing around in the like little ranch area. And like, I captured all of like the Unknown, so it was just like seeing these like weird floating alphabets just like derping around. And like, oh good, like, like Legends Arceus is definitely like game of the year, like one of my new favorite Pokemon games. And like, I don't want to give this away just because like this side quest is like the lead up and the reveal of what it's all about, I thought was great. But the side quest where you collect all like the spooky looking will-o-wisps like throughout the entire map, and you figure out why you're doing it, and it gives, like, I don't know, a backstory to like one of my favorite Pokemon, and one that I'm glad I was able to catch. But like, holy shit, Legends Arceus was just friggin' brilliant. And I don't know, it's just weird that you can like say like you're literally like, you're just literally doing God's will in that game. And apparently it's like the anime version of the show that I guess existed called God Friended Me, where God like communicates with people on a phone and he had to like solve problems. But like holy shit, that game was so good.
God transported me to another realm and gave me a cell phone to contact him.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
let's see, and like one of another game that was my game of the year of 2022, and I knew I had to play it as soon as I as soon as I like saw the trailer. As you know, they just like Square Enix has just been like knocking it out of the park lately with, and you know, one of my favorite games of like 2022 was Life Alive, which is apparently a full blown remake of a game from way back in the day, but they used like that super cool like HD pixel style that they've done since like Octopath Traveler came out, and it's just like real pretty. And you play as like different characters through different times, and like each era like kind of plays differently to the point where it's like like an entirely different game. There's one where you're like a ninja sneaking into a feudal lord's castle. There's another one like in the present day where it's basically just like a Street Fighter-esque fighting game. There's one where you play like as a caveman boy, and that's hilarious. And just again, I don't want to give it away because it's a game that will just absolutely like delight you as you play through it. But you know, just the one advice I will give is to look up how to get the golden ending, because you know it's a quite a bit of extra work, but it is absolutely worth the payoff. And
Pretty fun.
yeah, and Gremz, do you have any favorite games in the ancient forgotten year of 2022?
Okay, so I did look it up, and Melatonin did actually. It came out at the end of 2022. If you're not familiar with Melatonin, Melatonin is a okay, so it's a rhythm game, a la Heaven Fever
Hmm.
or Rhythm Fever. Sorry, there's Rhythm Fever, and then there's Rhythm Heaven. There's a lot of rhythm, whatever. um, Rhythm Heaven. It's like Rhythm Heaven, but it's like a super pastel-y, super. I wouldn't say chill. You want it? I want to say it's chill, but the actual gameplay can get pretty intense. Like not super intense, but it can be difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And let's see. Do you have any games of 2022? Any more games of 2022, Cruxy?
I'll go back to Sonic Frontiers.
Oh yeah, I have yet to play that.
Yeah, that one actually kind of surprised me as like I would say it was honestly one of the better Sonic games I have played in a decade, and that's all. I mean, to say that is kind of a big stretch.
Mm-hmm.
There were definitely some parts in Sonic Frontiers that did kind of get me a bit frustrated, like sometimes the controls in like the cyber world, where it's like you're trying, yeah, cyber world stages, part of the game, where it's like you can like you complete stages that are set up in stage from stages from previous Sonic games. So it's like you're going through. The world looks different, but it's like, oh, okay, I can tell I am playing a stage from Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes. I recognize the layout of it, and it's like that for a lot of levels. So it's like it's kind of fun to experience that, but there was definitely a lot of I definitely had issues with a lot of the controllers,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just like Sonic would either like go way too fast in one direction, but slow if you move like left or right. So it's kind of hard to gauge. And then there was like whenever it went into like a sometimes they'll switch from like 3D platform to 2D platform, and it just felt like Sonic was just slugging around trying to clear some stuff, and it was just like it threw me off. But like for the most part, like just quote unquote open world, it was really fun. Just like running around Sonic, just uh yeah, just hopping on like the rails, doing like all these obstacles. It felt refreshing. I really enjoyed the music, especially the boss music for um, Titans, which is like, won't say too much, but it's like playing like their normal stage. You got this kind of like serene piano. It's like very chill. But
Mm-hmm.
once you get to the Titan bosses, it just goes like it goes hard. Like it's like, okay, let's turn it from like a 4 to 11. Like, oh my goodness. And also definitely one of the best Sonic games where, well, I'll share. I When you get to play as Super Sonic,
Mm-hmm.
it actually feels really good. Some of the other Sonic games in the past, like playing as Super Sonic, I, it it felt so much like a blur or a mush then I couldn't really figure out like what I'm doing. But Frontiers, it's like, oh, okay, I know what to do. This feels awesome. This is just awesome. Give me more of this. And I'm happy with how it went. And then there's also the DLC that came out this year, which someone got offended when people were saying like hard mode was easy. So they really cranked up hard mode.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And also you get to play as Amy, Tails, and Knuckles, which was I miss playing as other Sonic characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not happened for a long time, so being able to play as them was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Oh, yeah. Like I remember because there's apparently this like little Easter egg dialogue from Sonic where he just like casually mentions like a character from the Sonic IDW comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's like one scene if you're on like I don't know some random hill where you're like, I bet Tangle would love this. And for those of you who aren't as much a nerd about the Sonic comics as I am, Tangle the lemur is like an original character created for the IDW Sonic comics because, you know, due to legal fuckery, like all the characters, all the like non all the original characters created for the Sonic comics back when Archie Comics had the license were like erased, and unfortunately erased in such a way that due to legal shenanigans we're never going to see those characters again. Which, as someone who's like, as let's say like calculating in my head like had like over 115 of those comics that I started buying from high school. Like, I don't know, like, and like I think Tangle and another character, Whisper, which is like, I don't know. What if Comey from Comey Can't Communicate was a furry? Which, I mean, probably the character probably is. Like, those two characters have just become so popular that they've started to like bleed into like some of like I don't know, like the phone games and things like that, and I think that's pretty nice. So, I mean, I've heard good things about Sonic Frontiers, and it looks neat. So yeah, um, another game of the year of 2022 for me that was just like very easy to decide is again from Square Enix because like they're just like batting 1,000 right now. Is Triangle Strategy. It's just again another game in like that sort of HD pixel style, and it's kind of like Fire Emblem-y, or it's like a top-down tactics game. Each character you get in your party like does something different. Like the main character is like a sword master, and he's like one of the brute force people. Like another one of the characters like magic, like fire magic. Like you can inflict burns on the enemy over time. You can like I don't know stop them from do massive damage to a single enemy and stop them from moving. Like you can throw oil on the ground and light those tiles on fire. There's like one of my favorite, because each of the characters has like special abilities, but as you upgrade them as the story progresses, you can like use the special abilities like more than once in a turn. And like one of the characters who's like a spy who can like do sneak attacks, you can have him turn invisible, sneak up on an enemy, hit him with like an attack that does poison damage, and then like go invisible again so that they can't like see you and retaliate, and it's friggin' awesome. And like, oh yeah, something that both this and Life Alive does is like these games are like fully voice acted, and like Triangle Strategy, it kind of I don't know. It's kind of like I don't know, maybe Lord of the Rings, or like it's like I don't know, Game of Thrones, in the sense that there's three main factions fighting against each other, but like not Game of Thrones in the sense that it is like incredibly violent or extremely not safe for work. Mainly this like Triangle Strategy in the sense that there's your faction, the main character's faction, and like two other like villainous factions, and like I haven't played like a good like tactics kind of game in quite a while, and hot diggity darn, it scratched an itch I didn't know I needed scratched. And like even when I wasn't playing a game, like it's like really gripping. It's like I don't know, some sort of like medieval fantasy type. Like if it was a show, it would be like some sort of medieval fantasy type show that I would probably just like consume in its entirety. Like, and it's also just gorgeous. Let me see if I can find some artworks, because it is just dang pretty.
I'm looking it up. Those look pretty good. Oh, actually, wait. Yep. Okay, I was seeing like concept art of it. It's like, okay, where's the gameplay? Ah, yeah.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I added it to my Steam wish list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may have actually just bought Horizon Zero Dawn just now. It was like $16 Canadian. I saw it.
And yeah, just like, I mean, having played, it kind of reminded me of like back when I played Fire Emblem Awakening way back in the day on the 3DS. Just I forgotten how much I love those sort of games where everything's like on like a grid and you move like tile by tile. And there are some parts of the game that are really friggin' hard that I had to dial the difficulty back a lot just because I'm terrible at that sort of strategery, but it's just it's so just like so dang good. And it has like
Sorry.
no
I am going to have to like. I do have Fire Emblem Awakening. I want to try it again, but I know I'm gonna have to replace the battery in my 3DS because it's last time I used it, it was acting up pretty badly.
yeah, like I'm not like a writer or game reviewer professionally, so I'm bad at like describing everything. But another thing I like is how pretty much each character plays like pretty differently. Like the main character is your swordsman. Like there's another guy who's just like huge clad in armor, and his strategy is like more just like a tank and physically pushing back. There's like at least two healers that play pretty differently. And like other than like the main cast, there are like other optional characters you can recruit. And there's one that I think is hilarious. There's like one character, and she's just like an 8-year-old who's like had to run away from the circus because this is a world of like, I don't know, medieval warfare, and you're like, what can she possibly do? And it turns out she's like one of the most useful characters because if you upgrade her, you can like, she can create like a duplicate of herself, and like she can, like the enemies will usually make a beeline for the duplicate first, which means you can like sneak up on them, and yeah, and I remember like apparently Square Enix was just had like Triangle Strategy as like a placeholder name, but then they stuck with it, and silly as a name as it is, like just like, oh, I love that game so. Hey, again, just like Life Alive, like look up how to get the gold ending if you can, because it's a lot of extra work. It adds a few hours to the game, but it is absolutely worth it. Like I remembered when I played through it, like I stayed up like really late, which was bad because I had to work the following. I had to get up at my usual early hours the following day for work, and I was pretty dead tired afterwards. But it was totally worth it. So yeah, just Square Enix, please do more of this forever. Just release all the other Dragon Quest games on the Switch, please. You'll make so much money. Also, and release Dragon Quest 3 remake for the Switch, please. I need it. Anyway, Gremz, do you have any like gems of 2022 that you want to sing the praises of?
Uh, oh, in 2022. I apologize. I didn't really
That's fine.
look up much now. Did Vampire Survivors come out last year? That's a,
I
think so.
I mean, that's kind of started. That's kind of what the. Oh no, 2021. All right, well.
Yeah, we can talk about that anyway. Like, I've seen like people sing its praises. I remember that Commander Stephanie Sterling herself like actually was like hired on as like a writer for some of the enemies in the bestiary, and like that's a neat little detail.
Oh yeah, now they have merch, and they basically spawned like a lot of games after it, including Hololive.
Yeah, like I feel like if I ever played the game, it would probably draw me in. And as long as we're talking about games that came out in 2021, I'm pretty sure. Let me just look at one of my games that I've played lists so I can confirm. Yep, I mean, it came out in 2021, but I did play it, like, last year in 2022, like, like, a game I saw, like, our friends at Far From Subtle play through, and I immediately fell in love with it. Like, one of my games, technically, honorary mention, I guess, would be Dodgeball Academia, which, just, like, combines, like, two of my favorite things, like the sort of Saturday morning anime that I grew up watching when I was a youngin', and the over-the-top hammy competitive spirit of like sports anime like Haikyuu and other things like that. And the I guess I'll give you the sales pitch so you can buy it for yourselves at some point. It takes place in an anime-ass world where like dodgeball is like, I don't know, one of the most competitive sports, and you play Otto. It's basically like a main character anime protagonist who wants to be one of the most bestest dodgeball players ever, to the point where he goes to a high school that, I guess molds kids into professionals. And this is, I don't know. I've known the two of you long enough to make the accurate assumption that, anime nerds. And this is one of the most anime games I've ever played. It does pretty much all the cliches, the rivals, the underdog, and the gameplay itself is actually surprising.
Did you just go on mute? Because I cannot hear you at the moment.
Yeah, neither can I.
Hello.
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 Yeah, I love my microphone not turning off for no reason at all. Anyway, Dodgeball Academia, again, like I said, one of the most anime games ever. And you think because the primary thing is dodgeball, they actually do quite a bit of variety to it. So the basic thing is that you can recruit characters and they're added to your team, and most of the time it's 3 of your characters between 1 and 3 of someone else, and it's the basic stuff. It works in an HP sort of system where light hits do light damage, heavy hits do heavy damage, and the goal is to knock all the characters out. And they do the sort of dodgeball rules that I've grown up with, where if your character or an enemy's character is out, it goes on the court, the opponent's side of the court, behind the lines, and they can catch the balls and hit you, which I think is neat. And each character has a unique power up. Each character has a super move or ultimate move. Ha ha ha. The main character basically throws a giant ass fireball. Another one of the main characters, they throw the ball and it travels around in a spiral, which makes it difficult to catch. And there's another character's ultimate move, which is basically to just straight up shoot lightning at people. And even the way you can catch the balls and send them back is pretty neat. Most of the characters, you can just catch the ball, and if you catch the ball it doesn't do any damage, but some characters have a counter move where if you throw it you can just immediately hit it right back, and that's requires quite a bit of timing, and I was terrible at it during the game, but if you can pull it off, it's really friggin' cool. And yep, if the two of you love I don't know, sports anime and Saturday morning shonen battle anime, which statistically at least one of you does, it is just a friggin' delight. And like most sports anime, it's a fairly decent message of trying, doing your best, hard work, and just using the methods that work for you to succeed rather than just trying to copy others. And oh my goodness, oh gosh, did I get muted again?
Oh, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, me here.
So yeah, if you two have a chance, I suggest buying it. I'm pretty. Yeah. So that is one of my games of 2021. So yeah, I mean, it's almost 2024, which is horrifying to think about.
Yep.
So, are there any games that are coming out next year that the two of you know for a fact that you're immediately going to hook them into your veins like an IV drip?
Princess Peach Showtime.
Oh yeah.
That looks fun.
I saw it. It looks cool. Princess Peach gets her first solo game in 15 years, and Princess Peach has had a pretty pretty good renaissance in terms of being kick ass, because last year was also the release of another one of my games of the year of that year, which is Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which is like, I don't know, like a tactic strategy Mario game, but you know, Mario and friends have guns. Like the cover art of the game is like Mario wielding like a pair of laser pistols, and like, and they've done something that I didn't think was possible, and they made me actually like the Rabbids, because instead of having the Rabbids make that sort of horrible screech that, you know, sounds like how I feel whenever like my ADHD just goes haywire, that horrible, horrible screeching sound that feels like it'll be the last thing I hear before I die. They have the characters have actual voices, and pretty good ones. Like, Rabbid Peach sounds like, you know, a stereotypical Valley Girl teenager. Rabbid Mario sounds like, I don't know, a guy from New York or Boston trying to do an Italian accent. Uh, let's see, there's, you know, I don't know, one of my new favorite characters, Edge, which, you know, basically looks like, I don't know, Cloud's Fursona, because, you know, that character also wields a giant sword. And, you know, to tie it back into Gremz being excited about Princess Peach Showtime, in that game, in the second Mario plus Rabbids game, you know, Princess Peach is playable from the start, which is great, because in the first Mario plus Rabbids game, you had to wait till like the halfway mark. Also, her primary weapon is like a parasol, but the parasol functions like a friggin' shotgun. Like, if you get up close and personal to like an enemy, like at the closest range possible, you can like one shot most of them, because again, it's like the friggin' shotgun from Doom. You can just like blow people away. And yeah, and like I'm full on agreement with Graham. It's just like seeing Princess Peach and like Showtime like being kick ass like all by herself, because we know she does things when Mario isn't around, and like the transformation suits are like amazing. Like my favorite one is, I'm pretty sure, is gonna be like Swordmaster Peach, because she looks like Hawkeye Mihawk from One Piece. And I'm hoping that if it inspires cosplay, we'll see cosplay of those two characters at conventions.
Heck
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sure we will.
Oh yeah. Let's see. So yeah, Princess Peach Showtime is definitely a game I'm going to get as soon as I can get my filthy, disgusting mitts on it. But like, video game announcement for next year that I was very excited about was Little Nightmares 3, because I know those are games I fell in love with as soon as Little Nightmares was like released on the Switch. It's basically like Limbo or Inside, but it's like a 3D platformer, and you know, it has the same horrifying look, like the same terrifying look as, like, you know, the stop motion movie of Coraline. And just like Little Nightmares 2 was actually like my game of the year, one of my games of the year of 2021. And it's just like, it's not just horror, it's just like weird horror. Like, you don't know what the hell's going on half the time. And like, I'm hoping we see more of more of like the characters from the first two games and and like this game, but you know, like, I remember seeing the trailer for Little Nightmares 2, and when I played through it, it was absolutely nothing like how I thought it was going to play out, like the trailer. So I'm willing to bet it's seriously going to like both terrify me and screw with me like psychologically, as games like that do. And Kruxy, are there any games announced for next year that you look forward to getting your mitts on?
Uh, a few, but I'll say the one I am looking really forward to is Little Kitty Big City.
Huh.
Yeah, I
Oh, I
played the
think.
demo.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
It's cute. You play as a cat who like got lost, or essentially like fell out of your owner's apartment. You're trying to make your way back, and you're kind of like, yeah, you just play as a cat. You run. When you run, you have the zoomies. You go up to stuff. You can be a total jerk and push stuff off. Do all sorts of cat things. Oh, the demo was not enough. I want to experience the whole thing.
Um, well, now I'm intrigued. Let's see. Let's see. Games coming out in 2024. Let's see.
There's also Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which would be kind of fun to get back into.
Oh yeah.
Really do enjoy that Yakuza games, and I'm just struggling about which platform to play it on because like, yeah, I could play it on like the PS4 for like some of the original ones. I do have it on Steam. Just can't decide on like, yeah, just can't decide on a platform because like, I feel there's kind of like a different sort of like atmosphere if I'm playing on the console versus PC. When you just want to get into it, and it's yeah. So like, I played Yakuza 0 on the PS4. Still need to beat Like a Dragon. I'm pretty behind on that.
Let's see. Any games coming out that you're looking next year that you're looking forward to, Gremz?
Hades 2 is going to be in early access next year. And I think that is fucking amazing. Oh, am I allowed to swear?
Probably, yeah.
I'm sorry. Heckin' amazing. I played the ever-loving crap out of Hades first. And Hades 2 is looking pretty awesome.
Yeah, and let's see. A game I'm probably just going to buy just because, you know, game companies don't know how to preserve their shit. Is, you know, recently we had the joyous announcement of like the what is called the Apollo Justice trilogy of the Ace Attorney games.
Oh yes.
Two of which were only available digital only on the the 3DS and like tablets. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's still all those are like available on like the various app stores and smartphones and such. But still, having it on the Switch is cool. Yeah, Apollo Justice. You know. Like, a man who, like Phoenix, tries and fails to be, like, a serious man, apparently not realizing that, you know, literally everyone he works with is almost definitely neurodivergent in at least more than one way, and, like, drinks a lot of sugar.
Because there's no alcohol in the game.
Yep, just grape juice. Let's see, it introduces us to the, like one of my favorite characters in like Athena Sykes.
Oh yeah, she's fun.
Get the return of Phoenix's daughter. We get the introduction of Phoenix's daughter Kruxy, and like the idea that Phoenix is a dad and has been a dad for several years is like terrifying because Phoenix is just like he looks like a man who's just you can just easily tell is like a disaster of a human being. So the idea that he has a child to take care of is like horrifying, and you know, because it's a Phoenix Wright game, we're gonna see like all these colorful, bright, cheery characters go through horrible tragedy. Because, you know, it's Phoenix Wright, and let's see, the entire world will be introduced to like one of my favorite characters and something I talked about with, you know, new friend of the show, Red Blood Cherry. Like, there's like, I mean, not to give it too much away because like this is it's like one of my favorite cases of one of the games, and you deserve to hear it for yourself. But you know, a reasonably accurate like portrayal of like dissociative identity disorder in a way that like doesn't make fun of it and the people who have it. Which is surprising because it's Phoenix Wright, and they seem to like. I always forget that because everyone in Phoenix Wright is like a friggin' cartoon character who just drank like 3 shots of espresso while you weren't looking. Like it does things like I don't know trauma and like mental health stuff like surprisingly well. And yeah, and again, just like one of my favorite comedy bits this like throughout is like especially in like Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice, like you alternate between like playing like the various different lawyers, and like when you're not talking, like when you're playing as one of the other characters and talking to Phoenix, he's like this like composed like seasoned gentleman lawyer, and when you're actually playing as Phoenix, you like see just how much like everyone gives him a hard time, and just like how everything just like gets him flustered, and I'm just like, Phoenix, how are you a dad? Like, how is that man a father? Like, I'm genuinely concerned. So, yeah.
I am looking forward to like replaying those on replaying the stories again. And actually looking forward to streaming those games.
Yeah, looks pretty darn cool. Let's see. I mean, we don't know. I mean, I don't know like when the freaking crap it's coming out, but I think at least at some time this year. I mean, next year. Like we're getting like the remake of Dragon Quest 3 is coming out. I think. Maybe, hopefully, I want it. I mean, it's also like an HD 2D remake, like Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy and all those, and I'm hoping that, if this game does super duper well, that, like all the other Dragon Quest games will like get ports to the Switch and other modern systems, because I would like to play, because one, I don't know how to like, not that I would ever do anything like illegally downloading a game, because that is wrong, but even if I did, I don't know how to do that to my computer, and I'm pretty sure it would break it. But I want like Dragon Quest 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10, and 7. Like I managed to get lucky and get like a copy of Dragon Quest 7 for the 3DS like fairly cheap back in the day, and it's become
nice.
one of my favorite things ever. But I want all of those games like I don't know, one big bundle on the Switch, so I could like have RPG goodness just hooked up to me, and we have no idea when the crap is coming out. But like I played like the original ish kinda Dragon Quest 3 on the Switch. And fell in love with the Dragon Quest series, and yeah. But I'm pretty sure I've like mentioned it to you two before with our Discord friends, and anyone who knows me knows why I'm excited about this. Is let's see, a few months ago, it was announced that they're remaking one of my most favoriteest games ever of Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door. And,
Oh yeah.
and like, holy friggin', like, as I was so friggin' excited, and I still am, and I need to know, like, unfortunately, we don't know, like, the specific date, so, like, I have to figure out how to, like, get in good with Nintendo, so I can do brand deal videos with them. Because I freaking need that game so damn bad. But I mean, yeah, and it looks like a pretty faithful remake. They're just taking advantage of like the Switch to make it look super duper pretty. I don't know, like I remember there's like one scene with Hooktail, like one of the big dragon bosses, and like they made it look like you were in a castle with like the light breaking through, and like I don't know, things are shaded differently. And like there's the little touches I didn't notice until other people pointed out, but like the characters have back sprites now. Like if you see the characters turning around, you actually see their backs and everything, which like I
Oh,
think
neat.
a lot of people in like the art community are like excited about, and I'm excited, and like I've kind of doubt they'll do this because Nintendo, but like fingers crossed, like what I and like a lot of other people are hoping they do is they actually acknowledge that, you know, Vivian, the best girl, um, like, and pretty much like in the first version of the game, like pretty much every version I think except like English and like one other country, it's like explicitly acknowledged that Vivian is trans, and unfortunately they did not bring that like acknowledgement over to the American version because, you know, Nintendo of America. But like it's a very long shot, but like if they did do that, like that would be friggin' great. That would be a great thing to see, and it's something I'd personally appreciate. And yeah, but more importantly, I want that game so much. Like thanks to Nintendo Switch Online, the original Paper Mario is available for me to play whenever I freaking want. So like that's freaking awesome. And like, oh, I can't wait. Like it really is just like a really freaking strange game because like I think Yahtzee said it in like zero punctuation back in the day. Like at one moment you're like in a floating city in the sky participating in like the Mario equivalent of WWE, and in the next you're like in a train solving mysteries, and like it's it's very and like I personally don't have a problem with like the modern Paper Mario games. Like I loved Sticker Star and Color Splash, and the Origami King was like my game of the year of 2020. But I am hoping that like we can have both types of Paper Mario games like going forward. And you know, maybe I don't know, since these characters are so beloved, Nintendo, bring back some of these characters. Bring back like the Paper Mario partners for like other games. Come on, that's like I'm pretty sure that would guarantee money. Yeah, that is just. Uh, it's another, and there's like, and like some of the more recent like game announcements have just taken me like completely by surprise. Like I remember in like Nintendo's Indie Land, most recent Indie Land video, it was announced that, you know, where is it? That there's like a Shantae game that was made, I guess, for like during Game Boy Color times, that was like never
Oh,
actually formally released, is getting
uh,
released.
yeah, I see the name. It's Shantae Advanced Risky Revolution.
Yep, that's friggin' exciting because I've, you know, ever since I discovered like the original Shantae game like on the 3DS, I've become a huge fan and played through all the games. And like this one just caught me completely off guard. Is like we're getting a Rugrats game, a new Rugrats game with Rugrats Adventure in Game Land.
Oh, interesting.
Like I don't know what it's gonna be about, but I'm probably gonna play it because I love them darn babies. And let's see, I'm just looking at this Game Informer release. Let's see what other things are coming. Any other games I'm looking forward to? Uh,
I'm kind of waiting on news about if there's going to be a Monster Hunter 6 game,
Alright,
which, you know, Capcom, you can take your time with it, but kind of itching for it.
let's see. I mean, I guess we'll just do like a highlight reel. Apparently, they're doing like a remaster or remake or re something of Lollipop Chainsaw, and I love that game. I
That was definitely a fun game.
I remember playing through it in like 2 days. I also remember that when we went to the PAX, like where they were demoing that game, my brother actually got to meet Suda51, and that man loves himself some No More Heroes. And
Hmm.
let's see what else. And there's like, I don't know, a lot of other things. And you know, just one more thing before I pass it on to you two. There's another game, well, an expansion of a game that came out this year that I'm excited to play. Is like like they've Nintendo and them has been doing like a good job with like Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, because we've gotten like two like pretty hefty story expansions. There's one that was the last Spark Hunter that is basically sort of an in between ish kind of thing between like the second to last and last sections of like the main game, and this most. Let's see. Hold on, let me just look at the actual title. Mario. Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Oh yeah, there's like the most like the second of the two story DLCs is pretty like friggin', I think, pretty friggin' awesome, because it like brings back to the return of Rayman, who hasn't been in a game since like Rayman Legends. And
That's not related to like Rabbids or anything like that.
yep, and like Rayman has to actually team up with Rabbid Mario and Rabbid Peach. And we see like Rayman was like not being sure of how to deal with it, because like before the Rabbids became their own thing, like they were introduced in a Rayman game as basically just screwing with Rayman. And now he's like, oh great, these bastards.
Yeah, I was trying to remember that. Like, he just, yeah, the rabbits just showed up with Rayman, and like, it just took off so much that it's just like rabbits just had their own games.
Yep, and he's teaming up with Rabbid Mario and Rabbid Peach to, I guess, help out the Phantom, who was a boss from the first Mario plus Rabbids game. And I should mention that the soundtracks from these two games is composed by Grant Kirkhope, who did like the Banjo Kazooie games and quite a few other hits since. And
Oh, cool.
so yeah, Gremz, are there any games coming out next year that you can't wait to like get your hands on?
Aside from what we've already talked about, honestly, I don't really have anything else. Like, there might be another game. I don't know when it's coming out. I mean, I hear Mario versus Donkey Kong looks alright.
Oh yeah, that looks cool. I mean, just like apparently before the Switch takes its final bow, we're gonna get a crap ton of Mario stuff, and I am not complaining.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess that brings us to the conclusion of this particular episode of the Pumpkin Coptercast. I would like to thank, Gremz and Kruxy for joining me and talking about like some of our favorite games of the past few years. For oh my gosh, it's been a lot. We've been talking for a while. And yeah, we are now at the section where my guests like shamelessly plug anything like they're currently working on. So I don't know. Say, Kruxy, since you are our newest guest, you can go first. Anything you would like any of my 10 of viewer to check out of yours?
Oh, I actually got time tonight. I do stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/Kruxy. That is actually my first plug. Yeah, so I'll be streaming Eggman Battle Network 3 shortly after this, so go check it out.
Cool. And Gremz, is there anything of yours that that all of my listener would enjoy checking out?
Oh, so I stream usually Tuesdays and Saturdays, 7 o'clock Eastern at twitch.tv/gremlinsrs. I also collab on Timbo the Wizard's channel, twitch.tv/Timbo the Wizard. Every Wednesday, for the most part, we're playing a Baldur's Gate 3
Oh goodness,
playthrough.
that's a hefty
also-
game.
Is a hefty game. We're playing on
Mm.
Tactician, all druids, all the time.
Oh.
It's been a trip. But I also am part of the Sigil Community College D&D 5e live play, whose the finale is going to be on the 13th for the first season. That's exciting. And then on the 10th is when the second session of the mini series we're playing Masks: A New Generation, also on Timber the Wizard's channel, where I am also part of the cast. Is good times.
Okay. And if you're still listening to my ramblings throughout all of this, and you want to hear some more, and you want to hear some slightly more coherent ramblings, well, first off, like and subscribe, all of that stuff. If you have any money and for some reason you want to give some to me, you can go to patreon.com/thepumpkincoptercast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can submit questions for me to use in future interviews. And, oh yeah, I guess before I start plugging my stuff, I should mention, one of my Patreon patrons and mutual friend, Aceville. I asked him his game of the year, and he said Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm pretty sure Super Mario Bros. Wonder 2, but yeah. Anyway, if you want some more slightly structured ramblings of mine, you can go to my podcast, Gotta Recap 'Em All, where God is a horse, so nothing is off limits, where my friend Tom and I recap every single episode of the Pokemon anime. You might be thinking, the one that gave kids the seizures? Yeah. The one with the guns in it? Yeah. Literally every single episode. And we are just we've just passed I think, let's see, episode 152, and there are over 1,200 episodes now. A new series just started and over 24 movies, so yeah, Tom and I are probably going to be doing this until the day we die. And if there's an afterlife forever afterwards. So yeah. Gotta recap them all, and yep, that's about it. And till next time, everyone, remember, have a gourd day.